In today's short video, we're going to be looking at Advert Manager SE, which is used for managing and scheduling adverts into your log in Myriad 5 Playout. So let's get started. In this video, we will cover creating advert categories, adding ad breaks to clocks, adding new clients to Advert Manager, adding new adverts, scheduling the adverts, and also generating play logs so that you can send reports to your advertisers. Advert Manager SE is part of the Myriad SE applications bundle. To download, go to broadcastradio.com, choose Support, Software Support, and Myriad Playout Support. Then click on the Download Software link and choose Myriad SE Applications. If you choose Myriad SE Applications, that includes AutoTrack and Advert Manager. We'll only be using Advert Manager today, but clicking on Download and running the installer will install both AutoTrack and Advert Manager. The installation process isn't covered in this video, but it is fairly straightforward as there are a few questions to answer. If you're installing on a PC that has already got Myriad 5 Playout installed, most of the settings will be automatically detected when you run Advert Manager for the first time. The first thing we want to do is add some advert categories. These are similar to the song and link categories we've seen in previous videos, but of course these relate purely to adverts. You need to set the advert categories in two places. Firstly, you need to set them in Myriad 5 Playout, and secondly, in Advert Manager. And the two lists of advert categories should match perfectly. So first of all, let's set a couple of categories in Myriad 5. Go to the Settings menu, go to Database Settings, Categories and Attributes, and then click on the Adverts tab. And here we can see we've got a top of hour and a general. If we wanted to add a new category, click on Add New Category and give it a title. Next, we need to do the same thing in Advert Manager. In Advert Manager, click on Settings, Advert Database Settings, Categories tab, and here you can see we've got the categories. So to add our third category, click on the third column, the third row, and add it in. Now the important thing is the numbers match up. So in Advert Manager, we've got advert categories 1, 2, and 3, our top of hour, general, and end of hour. And in Myriad Playout, we have the same thing. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 are called top of hour, general, and end of hour. This is because both systems are really dealing with category numbers 1, 2, and 3. The labels are there to help us when we're scheduling. The next step is to add some advert breaks to the clocks we want to use to generate logs. To do this, go to the Stations menu, Myriad Schedule, and here we have the clocks and the clock assignment grid that we've seen in previous videos. I've already set up an example clock called Advert Examples, so let's have a look at that one. Here you can see an advert break. Here, here, and here. It consists of two pieces of information beyond it being an advert break. The first one is a reference time. It is useful to put this time in to help the presenters, but also the system will use it to identify advert breaks. If you are using Myriad 5 Playout with a third-party external advert scheduling system, it is essential that these break times match up both in Myriad Playout and in the third-party trafficking or advert management system. Here we can see we've also got a category. These are the categories we set up a few moments ago. So if I double click on this one here, we can see I set both my reference time and the category I want to use. Let's add another advert break at the end of this hour. So here we can see I've dropped an advert at the end of the hour. I need to give it a reference, so I'm going to call this one 59 minutes past. And I'm going to set the end of our category that we created a few moments ago. So here we can see we've now got 4 advert breaks in this clock. The clock is assigned to every hour of the week. So if I schedule tomorrow, and then go to tomorrow, you see each advert now has 4 empty advert breaks with a reference and a category in each one. That is everything we need to do in Myriad Schedule in order to be able to add adverts to our advert breaks. Each clock that you want to contain adverts should have the appropriate number of advert breaks in with a reference and the categories you want to use for each advert break. If you don't want to use any categories for adverts, i.e. you don't want to be able to specify which breaks adverts should go in, you can use no categories whatsoever, in which case every advert that's on the system will be valid to go into any advert break. But we recommend using advert break categories as it will give you control over where adverts are placed within the clock or within the hour. So let's switch over to Advert Manager now and see how we would add a new client and add some adverts to our system. In Advert Manager, you have 2 key concepts. You have clients, who are the people who are paying you to advertise, and then you have adverts, which are the individual adverts you'll be scheduling and running on your system. So for example, you may have a client called Coca-Cola who has several adverts that run through the year. So they may have a Christmas advert or several Christmas adverts and different campaigns at different points in the year, but they'll all be on the Coca-Cola client. So the first thing you usually have to do when setting up your advert management system, Advert Manager, is to add some clients so that you can then add some adverts for those clients. So let's add Coca-Cola to our system. Click on the Contacts and Users tab and click on New Contacts. Here we have some detail that we can use for adding in contact details for the client. Right now I'm just going to add the contact's name, company name, and his title. You can fill in all the other details such as phone numbers, emails, as much information as you want. You can see on here we also have a handy Adverts tab which can show you all of the adverts a client currently has active or ever had on the system, even if they're no longer active. But because this is a new client, there are no adverts here listed at the moment. Click on the Save button to save the client details and OK to close. You can also browse and edit existing clients, see what adverts they have on the system, and change their details if you need to. Next, let's look at adding an advert for a client. Click on the Adverts tab and then choose Add New Advert. Here we can see an empty advert card. This is used to determine which media item or card number should be played, what category it should be in, who the client is, and also when it should be scheduled to be played, both in terms of dates and how many times in each hour. So let's start at the beginning with the card number or media ID. You can click on the Browse button and browse your media wall. I have some adverts at 900, so let's have a look at that. Okay, I'm going to use this Specsaver advert here. Double click on it. Now, if this is an advert for an existing client, I can click on the Select a Contact button and choose the client I want to use. So if I wanted to add this to my Coca-Cola, I absolutely could. But what I'm going to do is actually add a new client. So click on the Add New Contact Details to Directory, give it a new person. So this person is called Sue, and she is from Specsavers. It's OK. And that's now both added the client and attached this advert to the client. Next up, we need to put a category in. I'm going to put this one as an end of hour advert because this is the advert I want to play in the last advert break in my clock. I can give it a reference. If they've given me a reference, then at least we can put that reference in here so they'd be able to tell. One interesting feature you can also use is the tail card feature. If I tick this option, and put another cart number into here, so let's put 907, then what will happen is this advert, 906, will be scheduled at the beginning of the advert break, and then 907 will be automatically placed at the end of the advert break. This is often called a top and a tail advert and gives you a way of upselling advertising space to your advertisers. In this case, I'm not going to use a tail cut, so I'll just deselect this. The next bit is the Plays tab. Now this is where it gets just a little bit more complicated. The first thing is the date and time range. So this is the date that you want the advert to first start playing and the very last date that you want the advert to play. Advert Manager will automatically remove this advert from rotation after 23:59 on August 20th. So let's say that this advertiser has actually paid us until the end of September. So let's set it to be expiring on the 30th of September. Next, we've got the Plays grid. Now here we've got two different options for the way we want to use things. The simplest option is for every hour of the week, we can say how many times the advertiser has paid us to play this advert. So in this particular advert here, we can see that the default is once per hour for every single hour of the week. But let's say the advertiser actually paid us to play it twice in certain hours. Then we could just simply say, if they paid us, for example, to play the advert twice during the breakfast show, I could highlight the breakfast show hours and change the number to 2. So now this advert will be played once in the 6 o'clock hour, but twice in the 7 o'clock hour, 8 o'clock hour, and 9 o'clock hour, but back to once again in the 10 o'clock hour. Now in this particular case, because I want this to be the end of hour, and I've specified that category, the advert breaks that we added to our clock, there was only one advert break called that was using the end of hour category. So if I was to ask it to play twice, the only thing the system could do would be to place this advert twice in that one advert break, which is not really what I want. So instead, what I'm going to do is set these back to number 1. Now, there is an alternative way you can run this, which is what we call band scheduling. So first of all, let's just get rid of everything out of here. Okay, so now I've got my grid of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I've got bands A, B, C, and D. So let's say I wanted to sell my advertising based on playing twice in the breakfast show, twice in the drive time show, and only once per hour for the rest of the day. What I could do then is say, okay, well, I'm going to say from 7 till 10 is my breakfast show, and I'm going to call this one Band A. And then 3 till 5 is my drive time show. I'm going to call that one Band B. And then I'm going to put the rest of the hours to play once in each one of those. And then what I want to do is say, for Band A, I want this advert to play twice. And for Band B, I want this advert to only play once. So with this setup here, this advert will play once an hour between midnight and 6 a.m. And then between 7 and 10 a.m., the advert will play twice. So it will not play in every single hour, but will be heard twice across the breakfast show. Then from 11 till 2, or 3, I should say, is once an hour again. But between 3 and 5, or 3 and 6, I should say, we're going to only play it only once. So this allows you to charge a premium for certain hours of the week by having bands where things don't necessarily play every hour, but are going to play X many times within that band. For this particular advert, I just want to revert back to the simplest way possible, just having once per hour. And I can delete my bands altogether. Okay, let's have a look at the other tabs we've got available. Next is the collisions tab. Now, collisions are used to separate adverts of a similar type. So this is a Specsavers advert, and really I don't have a category for this, but let's imagine that we wanted to use, let's say this wasn't Specsavers, but this was actually a Ford advert for a Ford car advert. I could tick the automotive collision, and this would indicate to the system that this advert is related to the automotive collision. And if I was then running a voxel advert, I would also tick the automotive collision. And then the system would know that these adverts are of a similar type or for a similar product, and will try and keep them in separate advert breaks, or at very least apart from each other in a single advert break. You also have the choice of either a soft or a hard advert collision. A soft one, the system will do its best to keep them apart, but if there is no option, it will play them back to back. However, if we were to choose hard automotive on all of the car-related adverts on our system, then the system would rather drop adverts rather than play them back to back. Most of the time, people will use soft collisions. Now, these are the default collisions, but if you need to add more collisions, you go to the Settings menu, go to Advert Database Settings, and then onto the Collisions tab. And here you can see you can add new collisions. So if we add a new collision for classes, and hit, so that's now added in, I'll need to go and find that advert again. So let's have a look at Specsavers, look at the advert we had here. So now on our collisions, you can see we've now got glasses. So we can now tick the glasses one. And then if we were to have another advert for Vision Express, we would also tick the glasses. You can also see we've got allow this advert in the same advert break from another advert by the same client. So if we're running 2 or 3 adverts for Specsavers, then we could say whether or not we will allow that, and also allow this advert to appear twice or more than once in the same advert break, which we normally wouldn't tick. We can add some notes if we wish, and we can also see when this advert has been scheduled. And from here, we can also view the play history and print the schedule history. This advert obviously has only just been added to the system, so won't currently have any plays in place. So we hit OK, and that is our advert added to the system. We can also see what adverts we've got on the Adverts tab by clicking on the Show On-Air Adverts, and here we can see all the adverts we have in play. We can see we've got 2 that are in the top of our category, a bunch of them that are in the general category, and only one in the end of our category. We can also see that I accidentally left the tail on that, so I don't want to use a tail on there. So let's just enable that. Okay, let's refresh that. That should be correct now. Okay, so that's good. The adverts are all in place. So obviously you can add as many adverts as you want to. You can also view adverts that are out. So these are any adverts that are on the system that are no longer in rotation. So if you have an advertiser who finishes advertising with you and then comes back 6 months later, you can find their old advert and re-enable it if you wish to. And you can also view adverts that are scheduled to start being in rotation soon. A couple of other useful tools on here is you can see how many advert breaks you've got in the log. So you can look at today. And here we can see I've got 3 advert breaks for every hour of the day and 4 advert breaks for every hour of tomorrow. So next we can actually schedule them. We've added some adverts, we've added the clients. So we can actually now schedule these to happen. To do that, click on the schedule button and you put in the dates that you want to schedule. Now, I know I've already scheduled up until I've already scheduled the 13th of August. So I'm going to schedule the 14th of August. So I'm going to schedule from midnight on the 14th, or just past midnight on the 14th, through to 23:59 on the 14th. Click on the schedule button. And after a few moments, the system is finished. If I jump back into Myriad 5 Player and go to the 14th, here we can see the top of our advert has been filled with the 2 adverts from the top of the hour category. Then I have my first advert break's got 4 in this case. My second advert break has got 4 in. And you'll also see that we have the Morrison's advert is in the first advert break, and the Sainsbury's advert is in the second advert break. And that's because they're both tagged as being shopping or retail, so the system has kept them in separate advert breaks. And we can also see finally our end of hour advert break, our Specsavers advert break we just added is in there at the end. Next hour will be very similar, but in this case, Morrison's is first and Sainsbury's second. And that's it for advert scheduling. If you need to remove advert breaks, you can do so by clicking on the remove from playout. Choose your range. If I want to pull the all of the 14th back out, just change that to be 00, hit remove, and you can remove it from the system. It's done. Sometimes you want to be able to tell your advertisers when their adverts will be played. You can do that by finding the advert either by clicking on show adverts or by going into the contact or client and finding it that way. Find the advert you want, open it, click on the schedule tab, and here will show you how many times in each hour it's scheduled to be played. Of course, the thing you're probably interested in is actually sending your advertiser a report of when their advert was actually played. And that's done inside Myriad Playout because that is the system that has actually played the advert. Go to Myriad Playout, go to Reports, you want Play Log Reports. Let's say I wanted to see all the adverts that are played and click on More Filters, do Item Type, Adverts, hit Search, and here are all the adverts played. However, if I'm just interested in a single advert, I can do that as well. I can go in my results in the More Filters and just choose the specific range or individual media item that I want. There we can see every time this advert was played today. And with that information, you can also export that and send it to the customer. Final thing to look at is a couple of settings. So if we go to database settings, here we can set the maximum amount of adverts in any given break and the maximum amount of minutage in any given break. This allows us to set some maximum, so we could say that we will only have a maximum of 5 adverts or a maximum of 4 minutes, or whatever you want it to be, and that will then supersede the advertising requirements that you need. So if your promise of performance or for legal reasons you can only have X many minutes of advertising, then you can use this facility to do that. And that is pretty much everything you need to know about SE. There are several other options and things in here which you can explore, but everything we've covered in this video will give you everything you need to actually start using Advert Manager to both manage and schedule your adverts and have them appear in Myriad Playout. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.